character creation in Ark Survival Ascended. And this is how I create my character. I've had several people from my channel, which is a very small channel, ask how I make my character. I also need to let you know that I do use an 8K attachment from my PlayStation to my monitor. And yes, I use a monitor, not a TV, and it is a Alienware monitor, so it may make a difference on how you view or see my character. I have no idea, by the way, as far as like the brightness goes in the character creation for Ark Survival Ascended. The only thing that I can recommend is that you pay attention to what color you're choosing versus how those colors look on the screen while you're creating your character. I go ahead and what I do is I get as close to the color that I think I want and go from there. And of course, you know, later on in the game, while you're in the game, you can also edit your character, which I will place the link to that right now, and feel free to go ahead and check that out after this one. And it's all about basically editing your character after creation. So let's go ahead, and we're going into the head portion of things, and you can see where her eyes look like they're blue, but if you look, the iris and the outer color are purple. And so of course, again, that's where I highly recommend you just go by the color that you think is pretty or nice. Depending on if you're a guy or a girl, you're gonna be like bleh, or oh yeah, cool, as far as like the pretty comment, but a color you're content with. How about that? And again, you know, once you get into the game, you can see actually how it looks. So I used purple just as an example of how different or contrasting the brightness versus what it really is. And then, of course, the hair color. If you look at the hair color, I'm picking like colors that you would think, you know, brown, or even like, of course, black is going to show black hair color on the screen no matter what, because of course that's the darkest color you can come across. So just pick a color as close to what you want and know that you're not stuck with it. And there are also, in another video that I will do later on, different dyes, and you can actually dye your hair in the game, like all the colors that are available in the game for dyes, for clothing and things like that, you can do your hair also. So you see here, I don't stick with the default size for the head. I make it bigger, which makes it longer. Of course, it's not super wide or whatever, but you could do that if you wanted to. And then I basically shrink down the upper and lower face. I make them smaller than the default, because then that makes it a little bit more oval or heart-shaped. The depth I leave the same. Neck size I always decrease, because especially when you're creating a feminine character, you know, the neck is typically smaller. Now we're at the torso, and here's the chest size. Being who I am and actually a female, I tend to go 50% or smaller with the chest size, because I am actually above 50% in real life and have no desire to have a character with those bounce dynamics. I don't even, let's not even go there any further. So basically, back muscles, lats, pecs. The pecs are your chest also, just for future reference. And that's a muscle versus, you know, fat. So that'll also shrink or increase the size. Then we're in the hands and arms. And of course, the hands are huge in game, so I shrink them down to what I think is acceptable, how they look. And the feet as well. Then you go into like the triceps, which is the back of the arms, the biceps is the front, and so on. You can look up certain things if you want to see what they do. The legs, I stick to the same leg length, and then I add the quads, and of course the glutes are your butt or hind end. So I have it at 100%. And then when you add the fat, that's where that comes into play, you know, butt fat. If I were to make that 100%, it would be a rather large butt, and that's all well and good if that's what you want. So then what you do is you press save. You pick a name for the character that you will know. This is the one that I made just now, and that's the one that I will, you know, you can choose between several different ones. It's not just one. It's a character preset, basically. And so I chose to call this one Noelle. and you just type in the name, you click accept, and then you can go into the game, and you click. I'm tongue-tied today. This is my first video back in months. So then you go into the game, and of course I initially go back in and I didn't do anything with the fog or the clouds, but you can basically see how my character looks and versus what she looked like. There you go. And this the character creation screen. Huge difference in the hair color, the skin color, all those kind of things. I think she looks pretty. I don't think she looks average, default in any way, shape, or form. Now, if you do PvP, you might want to make your character as small as possible. Short, small, small, that kind of thing, so you can sneak and hide and do whatever. I hope you found this helpful, and please remember, just pause with each number, each section, and you can duplicate my character. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you next time.